Hi, hello, and welcome back. My name is Kitty. I also go by Meraki, or Meraki22. You can find more about me and everything that I do in my blog, linked down below. For now, we're going to get on with the next part of our mini gold making series, Gold Making for Casuals. It's basically just small tips and tricks that are minimum time and effort requirements for people who would like to pay for their sub with in-game gold, but really don't want to make gold making their top priority. So this is for you. And today we're going to talk about operations. Last time we've talked about groups, and before that we went into sniper and quick sell and options and tooltips with TSM. There's a lot of posts of this about TSM, and I understand that, but that's really, it's the backbone of making gold easily and quickly in Warcraft, so it's very, very important, which is why there's so many videos about it. If you want to do more intensive gold making, I seriously suggest that you Google and search on YouTube here, because there's a lot of gold makers out there doing a great job of teaching you how to do it more intensively than me. I'm totally for the scrubs, like myself. So yeah, let's get on with it then. Last time we made some groups, and today we're going to go in and make some operations for those groups, or at least describe, how you'd go about making operations. I'm not going to do it for you. So into groups, these are the groups that we made last time. You have probably got your own groups. Some might be similar to this, some might be different to this. It really doesn't matter. You're making the same kind of operations, for each of them. You're just tweaking the particulars. So there you've got your groups. Now there's two ways that you can go about this, about adding operations to your groups. First, let's talk about what operations do. Now there's different kinds of operations that you can add to your groups. You can add an auctioning operation, which is perhaps the most important one, because that is the one that is going to sell your stuff on the auction house. You can add a crafting operation, which is going to craft things that obviously if you have the skill to craft them. You can add a shopping operation, which is going to allow you to buy those things. A vendoring operation will allow you to buy things from a vendor and sell things to a vendor. And a mailing operation will allow you to mail things from one character to another. All of these work with single clicks. That's why we set them up. We set them up so you don't have to do all the messing around. It's going to do it all for you. All you're going to have to do is click the button to say to activate it, basically. Now you can also do warehousing, but I don't use warehousing, therefore I don't understand warehousing. I will, however, in the description below this, include a link to a separate video that someone else has done that goes into warehousing if you're interested in learning about that. But like I said, I don't use it, so I couldn't do it justice. But yeah, so there's different kinds of operations, and you can attach multiple operations for each type onto each group. So you can basically do as much as you want with this. It's entirely up to you. But let's go into how you attach them. There's two different ways. You can go into this nuts and bolts image up here, called operations, and you can click the tab of whichever kind of operation you want: auctioning, crafting, mailing, shopping, vendoring, warehousing, and you can just create your operation in there. Or you can go to your groups, and let's go to professions here. Let's go to leatherworking, and you can go to the operations tab here, and you can just, we have to be in the one down here, so the one with the actual items in it is crafts. And we're going to click override module operations, and see here it says create new operation. If you click that, it will take you to the right place anyway, and if you do it that way, it automatically adds that operation onto the group. So that might be a bit handier for you, just to make sure that you've got an operation attached to each group. Just start at the top, go down your list, and create a new an operation for each one. Although some of them might have the same operation, you never know. Okay, so we've got a new auctioning operation here. Now this is how we want to be selling our leatherworking crafts. That's what this box is asking us. Operation name, leatherworking. Enter. Would you like to add this operation to professions leatherworking crafts? So it's just confirming for you that you want to add it, and you click yes, and it'll automatically add it. So it's now already added to that thing. And you're just going to post here, the post tab, and you change these settings to suit yourself. Now I always rank up the duration to 48 hours. That's how long it's going to be on the auction house. Most people say with things like flasks and glyphs and things, you want to be turning them around 12 hours. Some people go for 24. I literally go for 48 because I want to leave it alone for 2 days and not worry about it. So I just chuck them up, If they sell, they sell. If they don't, they don't. I don't have to worry about it for 2 days. And it makes me enough money. So I'm not too bothered about it. You can set that however you want. If you want to reset yours every day, put it to 24. If you want to reset them twice a day, put it down to 12. I don't want to worry about it too much, so I just put it to 48. Post cap is how many of that particular item you want to be selling. So this is leatherworking. And leatherworking, you're making mostly like armors and things. So I don't want to be selling more than, say, 4 of those. Maybe even 2 or 3. Let's go for 2 because I don't like leatherworking. So I only want to be selling 2 of those at a time. This is important for things like transmog because even if you have 7 of a particular dress, you don't want to be putting all 7 of them on the AH because it will make them look common and it will decrease their value. So you want to keep a limited amount up there because you can always restock it when they get sold. And this is going to do all that for you. So it's going to make sure only 2 are up at any one time and it'll keep posting up to the 2. If you're selling something like glyphs or enchants, you might want 5, 6. Like I said, it's entirely down to your discretion how many you want to be selling of each item. If you're selling something like pots, you're probably going to want that to be up at 20. For vendor junk, I always rake it just way up into like the hundreds just because I just want it gone. And people who are buying snowballs and things like that tend to not buy 1 snowball at a time. They tend to buy like 20 or 30. So I always have like junk ones up really high just to get them gone. But like I said, entirely up to you. That's what it does. You decide how you want to manipulate that. Stack size, for things like leatherworking and transmog, that's going to be 1. Because you can only put them up in stacks of 1. For things like materials, if you want to be selling materials, you might have several operations. You might create one operation that sells them in singles, another operation that sells them in 5s, and another operation that sells them in 10s. And then you can attach all 3 of those to your group, and then it will sell, say, 2 stacks of 10, and then 3 stacks of 5, and then the rest of singles. That's what that's going to do. You can literally play around with this as much as you want. If you only want to attach one operation, decide how big your stacks you want to be. Allow partial stacks will allow you to sell partial stacks. So say you have 32 iron ore and you want to sell them in stacks of 10. It will sell 3 stacks of 10, and if you click allow partial stacks, it'll sell another of 2. Okay, keep quantities if you want to keep any in your bags. I'm a role player, so if I'm making a group with shirts in it, because shirts are the bane, I always have keep quantity 1, just so that it doesn't sell all the shirts that I'm actually using for that character in roleplay. But yeah, keep quantity if you want to keep a restock amount, if you want to keep 1 for yourself, if you're selling things like blacksmith hammers and whatever, and you want to keep your own actual blacksmith hammer, you can put keep quantity to 1. Max expires is really handy. Like I said last time, if you make a group for junk greens from the salvage yard, which is a really good way of getting rid of junk greens from the salvage yard. I use quick sell, to be honest, because I just can't be bothered. But if you want to jump them into a group and get a bit better price for them, this is the thing that makes it useful, is you can put in max expires, and you can say max expires 6, and once it has expired 6 times, it's not going to sell anymore. Which means you can then decide what you want to do with that item. If you want to vendor it, if you want to disenchant it, whatever you want to do with it. But you can set that to say, this is not selling, and then you'll know. And then down here, this is where the important part comes. This is your pricing. So pricing, you want to take your bid percent down to something in the 90s. It's not really all that important. It basically just means how much lower your bid is going to be than your buyout price. Now, I never bring it too low, because I don't want to have someone bid on it and then win it for something a lot less than what I had put my buyout price to be. But you can set that wherever you like. Undercut amount I always put to 1 copper, because just why would you put it to anything else? Then this is the bit where the complicated bit comes in. These 3 boxes are the important 3 boxes. So let's do this. Minimum price is the minimum price you are willing to accept for that item. So think about this. Absolute worst case scenario. What is the least that you want to get for your leatherworking items? Now, logically, because we're doing a leatherworking operation, you want to be getting at least the crafting cost, right? And you can do that. That's the thing. You don't have to set a gold value on this, because the value of materials changes, and you could never be sure. You could set 20 gold and that could be good now, and next week the value of materials could rocket through the roof, and 20 gold is just not good enough to cover the cost of what it's costing you to make those items. So you can use crafting cost as a market value. I'm going to show you where you can find these market values. If you go to TradeSkillMaster.com, where you got the add-on, here you can find in add-on to the side here, custom prices, and that's going to bring you up this sheet, and this is like a reference sheet of different ways that you can insert pricing. So you can have your fixed gold amount, which is your 20 gold, 10 gold, whatever, just a straight gold value, or you can have a percentage of price source. And this is where it gets interesting. Now these all look terribly confusing. But the one I usually use is DB market, which is the auctioning market value. That's generally the only one I use unless it's something that I'm crafting. The one that we're going to use for this is crafting. So you see there, if you just type crafting, that is going to give you the crafting cost. It's going to calculate the cost of the materials, and it's going to give you the average cost of what it would be to craft that item. See here? Those are the two that I use. So example, you're going to want 50% of DB market. That's half of its worth price, and you can even add in things like +5 gold. You can do all sorts of different arithmetic, or you can do min or max. The min or max is usually the useful one. They provide which value is the lowest and which value is the highest. There's lots of different ways you can do this here, but you can read that over in your own time if you want to. Like I said, the last time, if you're importing a profile, because TSM 3 has made it awesome, you can import operations as well, and I believe both the ones I mentioned last time come with operations already inbuilt, but I want to show you how to do this so that you know, and you know what to change, where to change if you want to tweak those to your own, if you want to tweak those to your own needs and uses. But yeah, so minimum price for here, we're going to want at least 100% crafting cost. And in fact, I don't want to be selling it for just what it's costing me, because that's not making me any profit. I'm going to go for 120% crafting. So that's going to, 100% of the crafting cost is what it cost me to craft. 120% means I'm making 20% profit on that straight away. Bare minimum, that's it. But if you want to elaborate that a bit farther, you can go back and you can say, I want it to be the maximum. Okay, so maximum bracket 120% crafting, comma, space 120% DB market, just as a random figure. So that's going to be the maximum, whichever one's biggest, of 120% crafting or 120% of the DB market. Now what I just do is I copy that and I use the same equation for each, because otherwise you get into a bit of bother with things conflicting, and I just change the values. So the normal price, I'm going to go for 100 and say 80 on both of those. But you can literally, I'm just totally pulling this out of the top of my head. You want to set these values however you want to do them. And for maximum we'll go with 250. We'll go all out. All out indeed. Right, 250. Okay, you can set these values however you want. Like I said, if you're importing a profile, you're probably already going to have operations attached to it, but just so you know what these mean and you can understand them, if you do go to tweak them or change them, you'll know what you're dealing with. And if you see here over on the side, a tooltip comes up which will tell you different ways you can do it. There's a max one with vendor buy in it, 150% DB markets there, 120% craftings there. So it's going to give you different tips. The tips and tooltips and hoverovers in this are very, very good and very informative. You should read them if you ever get stuck. When below minimum, I want it to post at minimum. You can choose different things. You can tell it to ignore those auctions below minimum and only pay attention to the ones within your range. You can just post at your maximum, because why not? You can post at your minimum, which is what I usually do, You can tell just not to post the items at all. If the price range is too low for you, you can just keep them and just wait until something comes on that's better. Or you can post at your normal price, assuming that the ones that are below are going to, vanish sooner rather than later, and you want to go back to your normal price. It's entirely up to you what way you want to do it. Same with above maximum. You can post wherever you want. I just posted my maximum. And you might be wondering why you attach a maximum cost. Surely you just want to undercut whoever is posting the highest regardless of how high they're posting. But that's not always the case. Some people tend to post things like melon juice for like 5,000 gold, and you do not want to be posting melon juice for 4,999 gold, because it's not going to sell any more than his is. So you want to set a fairly reasonable maximum price just so that you're not totally wasting your time. So yeah, that's how you set up an operation, and that's your leatherworking operation, and it's already attached. You can go into all these other tabs and, like I said, read the tooltips and set them up if you want, but I don't cancel auctions. I don't cancel things that get undercut. I don't cancel to repost higher. I just let it run out as 2 days and repost it. If you want to cancel and run cancel scans, you can set those things there. And you reset things, relationships. This is if you want to attach them to different things. I don't bother about any of that. It's all just needless. This is kind of useful here. If you have like I've just named this one leatherworking. It's actually more useful if you name them for what they do. Like say you've set one up that has a 500 gold minimum, a 1,000 gold normal, and a 1,500 maximum. It's probably better if you name that one 500 to 1,500, because then you'll know what that operation is selling for. And in management here, you can go to groups and you can see all the groups that it's attached to, which can be handy if you're trying to organize things, or you can attach it to other groups from there as well. Alright, so back we go. That's it. You can blacklist players, which means if there's a certain player on your realm you're specifically trying to undercut, you can add their name there, and regardless of your post things, it's gonna undercut them. We can match stack size. Ignore low duration auctions is relevant for when you're posting your items. If someone else is posting something and it's not going to be on there for any longer than say 30 minutes, it'll ignore that one and undercut the one above it, because yours is obviously going to be on for 2 days. So you don't want to be undercutting the guy that's only going to be there for another 30 minutes. Yeah? Hope that makes sense. So that's leatherworking, and the same kind of settings for that apply to transmog and things like that. The only thing that gets different is if you're making things for alchemy and things like that, you probably want your post cap and your stack sizes to be different for alchemy and for materials and things that you're selling in different sizes. And for transmog as well, because you don't have a crafting cost with transmog, that crafting thing obviously doesn't work. So you see here for this, cancel that, for this transmog one that I already have, I've put in 80% DB market with space between the percent and the D. 120% DB market for normal, and 200% DB market for maximum. You can set those percentages wherever you want, and if they don't work for you, you can tweak them. But that's the general idea of how you set that up. But the only thing that you need to keep in mind for this is that minimum price, especially for transmog, because 80% DB market is the minimum you are going to get for your transmog items, and that is important when you are making your transmog shopping. So if you're going to be buying items from your transmog list, if you're buying them low and selling them high, which is a fairly good use of your time, it's a slow market, but it does have quite big turnovers. You want to have a shopping operation for your transmog. So operations, create one called transmog or tmog or whatever you want to call it, and then you want to put in here maximum auction price. Now this is where that is important. Do not put in 80% or above. Your figure that you put in this box must be below 80% DB market. Because if you say I have in 50 here, if you're buying things at 50% of their DB market and then you're selling them for at least 80% of the DB market, you're still making 30% profit. Do you see what I mean? This cannot be higher than your minimum thing. As long as this is lower, you're always going to be making gold. Yeah? That's the idea. So you want to put in something there. You can put it a lot. 50% DB market's probably going to have a lot of things turning up on your shopping list. So you probably want, especially for transmog, you probably want to keep it lower, like 35%, maybe even like 25%. You really only want to be buying the really good deals. You also want to include that in your sniper searches. Remember last time we talked about sniper, and if you have any lists set up, you want to make sure they're included in sniper searches, because if you're sniping, you don't want to be missing good deals that come up in your from your groups. You know, if you have that ticked, then they're not going to show up just because they're in a group. You definitely don't want that. So you definitely want to make sure show up in sniper searches is clicked. You can also show auctions above max price. I generally don't do this because I find it, if you're searching for a group as big as a transmog shopping list is anyway, that you don't want to clog it up any more than you have to. But I have a separate group for things like world drop recipes and no longer available items, and in that group I definitely click show auctions above max price because I want to see all of them, even if they're above my maximum price, because I might want to buy them anyway because they're kind of special. That's the idea. If you want to show only even stacks, like for example, say you're making a shopping operation for herbs, and you're only buying the herbs for inscription, so you only want to buy them in stacks of 5, 10, 20, you might want to click only show even stacks. Then you're not going to be messing around buying 1s and 2s and having them sitting in your bags for ages. That's what that does. So that's shopping operations, and you can make as many of those as you like, and you can put in different values. You only need as many as how to explain this. You can create as many shopping operations as you want, but you only need as many as there is different things that you want to be buying for different prices. For example, if you want to be buying transmog for 25% DB market, but you want to be buying materials at 50% of the DB market, you're going to need a new group for materials. And you're going to want that one to say 50% space DB market. You can put in a fixed gold price here. Obviously you can use any of the custom price sources that were in the other thing as well. I just use DB market, it's my default one. So now you're buying materials at 50% at half price, and you're buying transmog at a quarter of the price. So you only need as many shopping operations as there are prices you want to be buying stuff for. If that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, let me know down below and I'll try and help. The other one is crafting. So we're going to go into crafting. You only need crafting operations for the different... You probably want to make one for each, even though some of them might double over. I do, just so I know when I can change them if I want to change particular ones. But for the most part, things like blacksmithing, tailoring, leatherworking, unless you're into it very hardcore, I find I use those all the same way. Like I only make 3 of each, for example. But things like glyphs and alchemy, I'm making more of them, so you need a separate one for those. So let's just go to operations and we'll go leatherworking, BS, TL. So that's all my like armor crafting ones. I'm going to create that. Restock quantity, minimum restock quantity is 1, so I'm always going to restock 1. Maximum restock quantity is 3. I don't want to be restocking any more than 3 because I don't want to build up tons and tons and tons of these things if I have them lying around. So maximum restock is 3. Set a minimum profit, and the minimum profit that you can set anything in here. So the minimum profit in here can be 100 gold. So, and what it means is it's not going to craft anything unless that item is going to make you at least 100 gold, which is pretty neat. Like I said, you can use that minimum price value that we use for leatherworking as well, and you can, put in percentages here. So you can say minimum profit has to be 125% crafting. So it's not going to craft anything unless you're going to get your minimum price for it at 120% crafting. So you can just copy that in there. I usually just put gold values in here just because. And for things like leatherworking, blacksmithing and tailoring, I don't make them unless they're going to make me at least 100 gold, because like I said, they're bigger ticket items. Not making as many of them, it's not as important. But you can see where that's not going to cross over for alchemy and glyphs, because no glyph is going to make you 100 gold. Well, actually some might, I guess, but usually they're around the 30 to 50 mark these days. And pots aren't going to make you 100 gold either. So if you had that set for those you're just not going to be crafting anything. So you need a separate one for them. So in glyphs, I have it down to 150% crafting, or you could do min bracket 150% crafting, comma 20 gold. Okay. And that's going to do that one. And maximum restock for those, we're going to go to 5. And we'll make another one for alchemy. Alchemy. Minimum restock 1. Maximum restock, let's go for 20, because that's a full stack of flasks. Minimum profit, not going to be 100 gold. So minimum profit, we're going to go for, say, 50 gold. Maybe not, maybe 30 gold will do. Or maybe min bracket 110% crafting, comma 30 gold, close brackets. Done. And now you have to go back to your groups and attach those to your groups. So leatherworking, operations, going to go down to crafting, click override and find that crafting one. There we go. Leatherworking, blacksmithing, tailoring. So attach that. Now that's going to tell me to craft things that are going to make me at least 100 gold, or however much percent of my my crafting. But we'll go into crafting but we'll go into crafting itself in a separate video. I'm not going to focus too much on it now. Auctioning, we also did that auctioning one, leatherworking, so I want to attach leatherworking to that. Mailing, you can attach, let's go into mailing, make a mailing operation first. So I'm making all of these on my mage, but I don't want to be selling them on my mage. I want to be selling them on my AH alt. So make a group with the name. I always make them with the name of the character just to keep it straight in my head. And target player, make sure you're carefully putting this in. And click OK. So that's your target player. Set max quantity. If you check this, this will set a maximum that it'll send, so it'll only send this amount to the person, or restock to max quantity. It'll only send them enough to restock them to that quantity. Or you can set a keep quantity if you want to keep a certain amount of them. Fiddle around with it as it suits you, and then attach that mailing operation to your crafts group. So that means that any of these crafts that I have in my bag, go to operations, go to mailing, attach that Aspera one. There we go. So now it means when I go to a mailbox, if I open up my mailbox here and I go to TSM groups, it's telling me that I'm going to send my leatherwork. I have a mailing operation for my leatherworking crafts, and if I click mail selected groups, it will pull everything from my bag that I have made with leatherworking and send it to my AH alt, just like that. One click, all done. It's pretty neat. But let's go back to this for now. So we've made an auctioning operation, we've made a crafting operation, we've made a mailing operation, and we made a shopping operation. So we've made all those. Do we attach our shopping operation? We'll just attach it to leatherworking for giggles, even though we don't really want to be buying things that we're making. Click shopping, click override, go down to transmog. So now we're buying any leatherworking crafts that someone else has posted for less than 25% of their market value, which you can do. That's fair enough. If someone else is making stuff with leatherworking, say they're leveling it really fast and just posting it up for anything, you can buy out all those cheap items and repost them for a proper price. Especially if your thing's as low as 25% of their market value, then you know that's fair. Now we're going to do vendoring. Vendoring is very useful in various ways. So you have a group with all of your threads and your dyes and your paper and all of that in it. And you're going to attach this restock operation. Enable buying, you want to be able to buy them, and you want to restock to 200, say, that's a stack of each. You might want to make 2 stacks of each, entirely up to you. However, how many you want to put in there. Sources to include in restock, you probably want to tick some of these. Like for example, if you want to include your bank and your guild bank and your meal, your alts AH, so if something your alts auctioning house, your AH or your alts. I don't want to worry about what's on my alts or what's on my AH. I don't want to worry about what's on my AH or my alts AH. I'll worry about what's in my meal, my bank, my guild, and on my alts. So it's going to include those. Actually, not my alts, just my person, because I'm going to buy them separately for each character. Yeah, so you set that up however you like, include whatever you want. If you don't have access to your guild, don't click your guild. Just have your own mail in your own bank. And then when you go to a vendor, let's see if I can get one. I don't have this attached to a group, so it's not going to show up here, but I'll show you where it would be. So if you go to a vendor, you can hit buy, and it will, when you have a group set up, buy the things in your group. Just like that, and you'll have automatically restocked with one button. You'll have 200, stacks of 200 of everything. Just like that. So that's how you buy with a vendoring operation. And you can also sell with a vendoring operation. You don't want to be selling them right back again, so you want to leave that restock one alone. But say for, let's make one for greens. Greens. Okay, you don't want to buy them, so we're not going to enable buying. We're going to enable selling. We don't want to keep any. This is where this comes in handy. Do you remember last time we spoke about maximum expires? So once it has expired 6 times, that's not what we talked about, we're going to sell it. But you're also going to using the DB market, which is the one that's automatically in there, and destroy value, set a minimum market value. So if it's not worth, say, 100 gold, and its destroy value is not worth 100 gold, you can set these figures however you like. I'm just putting in examples. Then it's going to sell them. And you can click it to sell soulbound items if you want. I'm a role player. I don't sell soulbound items because that would sell all of my roleplay gear. But if you don't have anything like that in your bags, you can click that and it'll sell those items as well. So this is now going to sell anything that has expired 6 times, and or is not worth 100 gold, and or is not even worth 100 gold if you destroy it into materials. So basically, if it doesn't meet any of those criteria, if it's a worthless green, when you go to your vendor, you can just go to TSM groups and it'll be here along with your restock one. So you can buy selected groups, which will buy all your restock stuff, or you can sell selected groups, which will sell all of those greens. So you can attach that vendor selling operation to the group for greens that we made for our salvage yard, and that will make it really easy. Like I said, I sell them via quick sell, but the bonus to selling them from a group is that you can use that max expires function to then automatically vendor them using this. So that's how vendoring works, which is pretty neat. I'll go into vendoring a bit more in the crafting one, I think. We'll cover crafting and vendoring in a bit more detail later on, but that's essentially how operations work and how they attach to groups. So now we have made an auctioning, crafting, mailing, shopping and a vendoring operation, and we've attached them to those groups. So now when we go to our vendor, like you saw, we can buy and sell at our vendor, and when we go to our auction house, we can click, if we go into auctioning, the one that we attached the auctioning one to, we can click start post scan, and it's automatically going to search my bags for any leatherworking crafts, which I don't have any, so none are coming up. But when you do, they will. And you can just post them all from there. Really easy. So that is groups and operations. Once you have those set up, once you have your group set up and your operations attached, that's it. That is the time-consuming part done. So now, all you have to do is chuck your stuff on the auction house every 2 days or 1 day or whenever you've set it to, and that's it. It'll go really, really quickly, especially if you've set up that macro we talked about where you hold control and scroll wheel, post hundreds at a time, and that's it. You're done. You can leave it. Takes about maybe 10 minutes a day. Easy peasy. If you have any questions, let me know. Please check out the other parts because they probably don't make sense out of context. And check out the blog post below because there's usually something I've forgotten that's chucked into the blog post as well. Alright guys, thank you very much. If you found this helpful, let me know. If you have any ideas or suggestions or questions, let me know and I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks again. Bye.